applicant that was denied parking or denied an exception based on the fact, and they too said that they would not cooperate their coffee shop and their house of worship at the same time, but we could not separate that. Can we just explain that to us, so that I want to make sure, because that one is still an outstanding issue that will be coming back. So I just want to make sure that we as a commission are understanding. Thank you.
The prior issue that you're referring to was a coffee shop, apartment, and a church in one building. What they had come to you for was a parking modification, since it's in a parking modification zone. It's something to the effect of a 70% parking waiver. They only had 7 or 8 parking spaces, so that was the issue at that time.
Thank you. I just wanted to raise that, because it's for people that are watching may be wondering why, they sound similar, but in fact, it was a very different request. The request that came to us was a high exception request for parking versus what this is before us today, which is a special exception. Thank you very much.
Correct.
Those are the only questions I had for staff. The applicant like to speak. I have 2 people signed up. I have a Francis
Silverholtz, and then
and Bradley Farrar.
yes,
If you'd state your name and address, please.
yes, absolutely.
Welcome.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Bradley Farrar. My address is 1101 Mercantile Lane, Suite 240, Largo, Maryland. I represent the applicant Royalhouse Chapel. I want to let you know that, first of all, we're here to answer any questions that you might have. The staff report, I think, addresses all the issues and concerns that the city brought to us, and we worked very diligently and worked with the staff to resolve the issues. So if there are any questions, we have the architect here, and we have our senior land planner if there are any issues, members of the church as well. So if there are any concerns or any questions that you might have, we certainly will be willing to answer them. If you don't have any questions, we thank you in advance for your support.
Thank you. And for Francis,
Silverholtz.
the same thing. Are you here basically to answer questions? Okay, so if you'll just hold tight. Ms. Holland, please.
Hello. I had just a few questions. How many members do you have? I tried to find it on the website and do my research in advance, but I couldn't, so.
Yeah, currently we have about, I would say around 400, 500.
Okay,
Could you let us know your name and
My name
address?
is Senior Minister William Armour.
Thank you.
thank you. And then the community center uses, I know you talked about social programs. What types of, do you have a specific agenda in terms of what types of community service issues that you
Yes,
plan to embark upon immediately? I know
Yes,
that's ever evolving with churches.
What we're planning to bring into the community are social programs that involve after school care.
Mm-hmm.
That is one area that we want to participate. And we've been involved in providing help to the shelters.
Okay,
But I think we recently supported a shelter in Laurel, Maryland. And those are type of programs that we want to bring into the community.
okay,
Let me jump in. There's the planning for education programs for financial literacy,
okay,
health education, high blood pressure screening and management. I think there's been some discussion of having cardiovascular training
Okay.
to help people manage health issues as well.
About
Okay.
voter participation?
I beg your pardon?
Voter participation too?
Yeah, all sorts of education, yes, and
Climate.
literacy.
yes, you did say that. Okay, thank you. And then I guess I had a question, and maybe to staff as well. So with it, you mentioned that they will have to come back through the Department of Public Works for final site plan approval. Would that include any type of parking issues or what have you? I'm
No.
not really sure if there's parking that's allowed on the street outside of
There wouldn't be any parking allowed on the street. The issue that the site plan we were having with the Public Works was, it's like on the current site plan, they didn't have like an apron that needed to be abandoned and taken away. So the engineer, the architect was to ask where they need to remove that apron. So our Public Works staff needs to review it just to make sure that that apron is gonna be removed and paved correctly. But there wasn't any issue as
Okay.
far as zoning is concerned.
Okay. And then one last question, what are your plans for overflow parking?
Overflow parking. We don't anticipate at this moment to have overflow.
Right.
Because I think the requirement is for 175, and we are way over that estimation. I think we have about 200.
Yes.
175 and
53, I believe.
Okay. Okay, so I guess that is one concern that I have, and before I elaborate on what my concern is, I think I'm uniquely qualified to speak about this, as I'm a woman of faith and very proud of my faith, and the church that I attend is in an industrial park. One of the locations that we open, we have a regular church location, but we also have a church in an industrial park. And my daughter, who lives in Baltimore, also attends a church that's located in an industrial park. And I know that our church we didn't anticipate, or maybe we did anticipate, but because of the number of industrial properties around us, we're able to rent parking from the adjacent facilities for our services and for our different events. The one in Baltimore does exactly the same, and numerous times I know in our location we're looking for a new location because we've outgrown our space. We had 3 services. We're ever growing in that location, so that's one of the ways we deal with parking. But in the other location, as I'm talking with my daughter, that pastor is having a bigger issue. Like, the cost is so exorbitant to pay for this additional parking, but at least they have a plan because there are other properties around that can accommodate the excess traffic. So I just like to know, if there's not a plan, is that something that you're going to consider? Because, I mean, I know you have to have foresight if you're going to invest this type of money in a property like this. There's a shopping center adjacent, and so that really doesn't afford you that opportunity. And then there's residential. So I'm just a little concerned about that piece.
The site is very unique, and but that's why we chose the site, because if you want to look ahead, there are a lot of parking in the area that can accommodate us if we plan to, if we exceed the number of parking that we currently have on the property. But we chose that property because it had ample property to accommodate us as of now. But if the need be, there is ample facilities. There are 2 hotels on that street, and there is I think a party supply place that operates. Their hours of operation is way outside our hours of operation. So there is enough parking in that area.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Don or John? Any
Go ahead,
questions?
John.
You're good?
Oh, you're good? Okay. First of all, thank you for being here and your members of the congregation. I am a sinner saved by grace.
Amen.
I am blessed and highly favored.
Amen.
Hey, I'm serious. I have a testimony. But here's my concern. I'm very familiar with Braygreen. Since 1991, I've been serviced by Gary's Auto. It's during the week, a very underused road, all right? And I'm going to be telling some stories on myself, for the record, okay? Cops can't get me now. I can recall one time coming to the corner of Braygreen and Route 1 and turning left. And my wife said, "You just missed that sign." "What sign?" All right. She said, "Son, I didn't see it." All right. Other times I've come to Braygreen and Route 1, I always look to the right to see the traffic flow coming from Contee. If it's long, I ain't worried about that. Okay? If it's short, I'm ready to go, and I don't want to go that way to go home. I live in Laurel Lakes. My concern has to do with safety, all right? And I know the times that I've come down that road, knowing the sign was there, okay? And I've cut through the parking lot that was used to be a surplus store. Does everybody believe I know this place?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Here's my concern. Is there someone here from the Klingbeil, the people who did this traffic study? Is there anyone here to speak to that?
No, unfortunately, the traffic engineer had another engagement, so he could not make it. But you should be aware that the plan that we have in place with state highways would prevent that illegal left turn because of the throat channelization is actually going to force people to turn to the right.
What plan, sir? What plan do you have?
That the island,
The eye, right.
Okay,
There's
okay,
a-
the
there's a
island, all right,
photo
okay,
of
that
along-
island, okay, okay. No, I think
Yeah.
it's coming back, okay.
So that would prevent the illegal left turn from Braygreen onto Route 1.
Let me tell you what's happened. I've gone through it and turned left. Was told I'm wrong, there's a place you can go down and turn, right on Route 1, all right? I would even cut through the parking lot of the surplus store that used to be there, it's now a food and beverage part of place, and pull into the farthest north parking outlet to Route 1. When you do that, you become aware of a rise between Cypress, all right, before it gets to the surplus store place, okay? Usually I come down that road from having my car serviced. There's nobody in front of me, nobody behind me. It's low traffic density during the week. I want to know, when was this traffic survey conducted? Was it during the week? Okay, that's significant to me because it's a low density road. Now, I, sitting here right now, can envision with your congregation growing, coming out of church, full of the Spirit, all right? And I get the Braygreen Road and there's nothing coming up from the Conti, and there are 20 cars behind me honking horns, I'm going to turn left. And somebody is going to get killed at that intersection. And I would think, what a terrible time to go. Coming straight from church, feeling full and good, and then bam. That's my issue.
let me have staff explain, or can you show us the page to show us
The
how long
island?
the island is, so that, because again, it's in our report. Again, just want to make sure that we all understand, because Don has raised a couple things. So is the island long enough that people that scoot into that next parking lot, or could we make sure that if we're going to consider this, that his issue is taken care of in the sense that the length of this island is not one that somebody can go out, sneak around, and get around. I thought it was fairly long. Christian, do you have that close that you could tell us? Just, again, I want to make sure that if it's taken care of, that,
The island is gonna be 25 feet long. And it's gonna be long, and it should definitely be long enough where a car wouldn't necessarily force a left turn onto Route 1. I mean, I have a diagram, if need be, I can bring it up to help.
you wanna see that? to see if,
Illustrate for you.
I don't feel that island proposed is the solution.
okay,
I think you should also look at the shape of the island. The island is shaped such that it forces you to turn. Well, actually, if you go up the street, the next block, before you get to Cyprus, there's another property entrance over there that goes into the, I think it's senior citizens home. They have a similar set of island, and it forces you to make a right turn. So you can't go around it to make a left turn. Currently, it's open, so you can get
Right.
out there and make a left turn. And actually, the sign, which is on the right-hand side, I had been going there and I never saw the sign. We plan on moving that sign into the middle of the island so that you will see the sign as you come to the intersection. So it's angled in a right direction to force you to make a right, so that you cannot turn left. So when you come into that intersection, you'll be turned right. So you can't make a left.
I'm familiar with that too. Okay. And I don't know how to, I don't know how to clarify what I'm trying to say, other than I'm a normal driver. I like to obey traffic signs and stop. I would rather see a traffic light there, which you're not going to get probably, because during the day, during the week study. I like to know from the people who did the study, if it was a specific study, how was the study conducted? And I don't think you want to speak for them.
I do, because I have a copy of the report. I paid for the report. They did a week study. They did study through a week, every day of the week. And they did analysis and they presented to the State Highway. So State Highway also saw the study, the traffic study, and they used the most current scientific analysis to do the analysis of the traffic in that area. They did every day of the week.
Okay, I'll wait and listen to somebody else.
If I may interject real quick, based on the traffic analysis, it looks like studies were conducted weekday morning, peak 6:30 to 9:30, weekday evening, peak 4 to 7 p.m. Also, it looks like it was conducted Sunday midday peak hour from 9 to 1 p.m. The church plans to have services from 10 to 12:30 on Sundays. Also, I'd just like to note, make an extra note that I didn't earlier. This property was annexed into the city in 2005 and it's been vacant since it's been annexed in. Thank you.
It's been vacant for 15 years. I think it was vacant 5 years before that. Right. John, any questions?
Yeah, I'm good.
Any other questions?
Okay. You have no idea how strongly I feel about this. It's personal. And in good faith, if a traffic study was conducted a week, they saw it on 5 weekday business days, all right, and 1 Sunday, all right? And we have yet to experience the congregation coming out of church with cars backed up and traffic flowing on Route 1. I do not want to see living in Laurel, I don't even want to be dead for that matter, and hear of a traffic accident that killed people turning left on Route 1 at Braygreen Road. I don't have anything else to say.
John, and any other questions?
I have, Madam Chair, I have a recommendation that we table this again until such time as we have a complete commission panel. And if that doesn't suit anybody, then I'm ready to vote.
And what do you believe the full commission would bring?
I don't know. We're all individuals.
Yes.
I just feel strongly about that. I feel personally strongly about it. And if I was living in Laurel and somebody died in an auto crash at that intersection for a left turn on a Sunday afternoon, everyone would say, why the heck didn't they think of that back then? And I don't want any part of that, sir. It's nothing to do with what, anti-religion. I've been baptized twice, all right? And go ahead. I'm just.
Can I ask, point of clarification? Can we take a quick recess before we go to motion or any kind of a vote? Can we take a 5-minute recess to talk, to have a quick talk and come back
You can take a recess, but you can't go into executive session,
Okay,
because we don't have council here tonight.
okay.
One thing that I was going to comment upon for your consideration was there, if you don't feel 25 feet is a sufficient distance, you can make a recommendation to to the Board of Appeals if you're more comfortable with 30 feet or 35 feet. That can be, you can adjust the recommendation of staff to make it a longer median for that turn. You can also recommend that it not go beyond the standard, where if you recall the islands that they have at Laurel Lakes, you can drive right over top of them.
Right.
You could also make it a condition that the island be whatever distance you want, at whatever height you want. 5 inches, 6 inches, something a car is not likely to go over. And that's something that is within your purview to do.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I think that's what, and I appreciate the clarification of what we can and can't do as a commission, because I think what I'm hearing is that you are not opposed to the use of the property and the special exception. Your concern is, and we live, several of us live close to Route 1. We had this when it came up with McDonald's, when, you know, they're getting ready to redo a McDonald's, and a major concern was we corrected that we don't want anybody coming left out of there. I know you have been working with the city for 6 months, and again, it's up to us to vote it up or down. However, I think my question to you is, if we put the conditions in that, in terms of the Route 1 safety, is that something that is acceptable to you?
Football field is 100 meters, 100 yards rather, and a yard has 36 feet. All right, so that little island they're talking about, I don't see that that's significant. And come out of the senior citizens place where you're talking about, they have poles up there, and people can see poles and go to the left, all right, to avoid the pole. But looking at the sign that says no left turn, and coming down there just to get to where you can do the U-turn,